about the fact that Mr. Rousseau for 14 years didn't have time to learn French in Montreal, and he even said that it was okay, like, to be an Anglophone in Montreal. It's totally fine. What should be next? What should be done to stop this?
The words that were said by Mr. Rousseau yesterday to any level-headed Quebecer are absolutely incomprehensible. They were not worthy of his job, of his function. They were an insult to all Quebecers who come to this province, who take the time to learn the language, who make the effort, and there are people today who are taking French classes, and really, I think Mr. Rousseau proved that he was not worthy of of working for a company that is subject to the Official Languages Act. He proved that that Air Canada altogether needed to do a better job of the way they think of Francophones, the way they think of Quebecers, the service that they offer to the population. To us, that business should be under the Charte de la Langue Française. It should have those requirements applied to them like every other business under federal jurisdiction. And the money that they do receive from government should be halted for a time until they show a better understanding, a better appreciation, a better service, and a better recognition that their CEO does need to speak French.
So Mr. Rousseau needs to apologize,
he needs to
leave? What
First of all, I hope Mr. Rousseau took the night to reflect on what he said, to reflect on how his neighbors, how his employees, how his clients felt about his statement, and that he will apologize. But even if he does, I think his time at Air Canada has to be up. He's been a member, or he's been an employee of that company for 14 years. He's been the CEO for many months now, and he's been a Montreal resident for 14 years, and he has not demonstrated any interest in taking classes, in learning the language. Furthermore, his statement that because he's CEO, he doesn't have time to learn French is frankly an insult to anybody who does take the time to learn French. So he does need to apologize. Even so, I think he needs to go.
So you think the board should oust him then?
He needs to go one way or the other, and the board also should have a reflection on his place and ask him to go.
Do you think Air Canada's current financial state, granted that the pandemic impacted the airline industry, do you think this is now the time for a board shuffle? Is that important?
I think there's a number of people that can occupy those functions and that can show a better respect to Quebecers and Francophones across Canada.
I'm not buying his excuse. Like, I'm a CEO, multimillionaire, and I don't have time to learn French. He's been living here for 14 years. And I remember when I was a young, not even teenager, I was like at the elementary school, and my mom, with 4 kids, with my sister with mental disability, my mom struggled with no money, and she learned French. She used to work during the day, and she did the night shift at school to learn French. And her classes was from 7 to 10 p.m. She was coming back with the buses back home, and every night she was like trying to learn the French. I understand it's very hard, but if my mother with no money, with 4 kids can do it, a multimillionaire CEO would never make me cry saying that he doesn't have time.
Is the issue that he doesn't speak French, or that he
was bragging.
Didn't even make an effort?
No, he was bragging by the fact that he wasn't speaking French. Yesterday, he was actually making a point that, hey guys, I can live here in Montreal for 14 years and look at me. I don't speak French and I'm a CEO of Air Canada. The fact that he was bragging about that, and after that saying that I don't have time for that, was very insulting. In French, we say it was a doigt d'honneur. I don't know how to say it in English, but I don't know how you do it, but I won't do it. Thank you.
The attitude of Monsieur Rousseau is very insulting for people like me who came in Quebec without speaking French, and I learned it. As a lot of immigrants learn the French language, even if they don't have enough money because they need also to work, they are making this effort. I can't understand how Monsieur Rousseau has this attitude, very insulting for those people, and saying, oh, me, I'm a businessman. I don't have time to learn French. And I hope that the members of the administration, Conseil d'administration, will tell him to quit the job. Yes.
Why
Sorry?
you go that far to ask the board of directors of Air Canada to ask Mr. Rousseau to leave?
Yes, I asked the board of Air Canada to tell Mr. Rousseau to leave because of his attitude toward the Francophone of Quebec.
How could he better have handled himself or comported himself? How could he have demonstrated?
You know, I'm sure that he knows more French than what he's trying to say. For example, just to say, oh, je suis désolé, je ne parle pas français. Just saying that. And it's this attitude that he didn't demonstrate and that I denounced today.
When you, Mr. Rousseau said yesterday that, well, he explained, I've been able to live in Montreal without speaking French, and I think that's a testament to the city of Montreal. The word testament, what did you get from that word?
Well, I think that he should have the same attitude that he thinks that Montrealers have. Because people in Montreal, sometimes they change the language because they respect the other person who speaks English. But what's important with this is that to preserve and protect the French language, even in Montreal, we should put all the effort and the priorities on the language spoken in the workplace. This is what's important, and I have many proposals to the government because it's not only, it should be mandatory measures to be put in the workplace so everybody, the employees and the boss will speak French, because right now it's not the case.
You talked about the fact that you want companies of federal jurisdiction to be included in the charter, the French charter. But Mélanie Joly had this bill tabled in June, and she included this. So what are you asking Ottawa to do?
Indeed, the Trudeau government refused to apply Bill 101 to federal charter companies. And the impact is that there is no such thing as bilingualism in those companies. They run in English, and if they say a few words in French, and that's why Mike Rousseau didn't care to learn the French language through 14 years in Montreal. And so we need to get back to the federal government and ask again to get Bill 101 to all federal companies, and if we don't get it, we need a government that has balls enough to say the truth. We need our independence because within Canada, things that are very legitimate will never happen, such as protecting the language, the culture, and making choices from an environmental standpoint that are responsible for future generations. I'm tired to pay $2 billion or more per year through Quebec taxes to an industry that pollutes shamingly, that is a shame to the climate effort that goes on right now throughout the world.
You talked about the Westmount privilege.
Damn right.
And if Mr. Rousseau decides finally to learn French, can he stay on the job? Or the Westmount privilege is too strong?
The Anglophone privilege. If you ask me, some people are nostalgic of an era when all the big boss were Anglophone and were only talk English to anyone, and they were pretty happy to live in a city which is not that different from New York City or Boston or Toronto or elsewhere. And what happened yesterday, it's a resume of the history of Quebec. The problem is we are in 2021, and those kind of people can live in Montreal for 14 years and be grateful about the great city of Montreal that give them the opportunity to live as they want to live. We can't take this anymore. It's burning me inside. You cannot believe how I was shocked yesterday. In an hour yesterday, without any note, I talked to my colleague of the National Assembly to to the CAC member, Liberal member, QS member as well, and tell to them, this is not a game. This is not about Bill 96. This is about the existence of the Quebec nation. And if we decide to not fight anymore, it's over. And I don't want this to be over. And you have some courageous member of parliament, which is the deputy of the Parti Québécois, who will never give up, never give up. And it's a red sign, it's a warning that the history is not over yet, about why we want to fight for our language, for this respect, not only in Canada, but in Quebec as well, in Montreal as well. So we have a motion today blaming this guy, but all those other guys discreetly work in English in big office in Montreal and telling their employees, telling their family that we can live in Montreal with no problem, only speak English. Well, all that we want. Well, the best threat minority in Canada, this is an Anglophone privilege to me. And blame me on this if you think it's not acceptable, but I'm saying this loud and clear. So the history of Quebec is made of all those things. When Mr. Gordon, back in decades, tells to Quebecers that the only people who can run a railway company are Anglophone, it's not quite different of right now, who the only guy who can make the job in Air Canada, hired by a board, is this guy, Michael Rousseau, who doesn't give, whatever you want to say it, about Francophone. This is upsetting. And as a Francophone, as a member of National Assembly, those kind of sentences killing me and make me 10 times stronger to fight for my nation. And this is why we are here, still standing here, 50 years after the first member of parliament of the Parti Québécois. And this is why we're still relevant in the history of Quebec. And watch us. We won't give up. We won't give up this fight, and we want to make sure that all Quebecers who have a strong concern about our culture, our language, come with us and fight for the respect we deserve in this nation.